Could be up to the offensive line. No, Prinzel's going to throw for it. Got to get it off. They go for the ball game. Touchdown! Touchdown! Michael Jenkins on 4th and 1. Would you believe it? Craig Prinzel strikes with a minute and a half left. Holy Buckeye! So close, yet so far. The ball will be in Navarre's hands one last time. Fires in zone, intercepted. Let's party, Columbus. Ezekiel Elliott, and he's got an opening. Elliott off to the races. Can they catch him? No, they can't. Touchdown. Possible with 19 seconds left. End around, and now a pass coming up. Spencer to the end zone. Thomas. This is not a play that fooled Alabama, but the ball is thrown in the right spot. Did he get a foot down? Wow.
He looks thicker than that to me.
First down throw. Smith and Jigba's open. And again, Stroud drops it in. Stiff arm all the way to the end zone. Touchdown, Jackson Smith and Jigba. But he's done for the game. Stroud, touchdowns in his last 2 completions. Can he make it 3 in a row? Smith and Jigba, touchdown. And Ohio State answers instantly from 52 yards.
Clifford. Underneath and another interception. Tuimoloau. Now 2nd and 7 at the 28. Play fake, Clifford in trouble and sack. Great pressure. Guess who? JT Tuimoloau. Put Sean Clifford in those obvious passing situations. 2nd and 4 for Clifford. He'll pass it. Lost it. Loose ball. Bucks have it. Tuimoloau with another big-time play. He's deflected.
Never leaves one rock unturned.
First down to 10 to the 19. And intercepted. Wow! Tuimoloau again! Unbelievable! JT Tuimoloau has had the game of his life. He deflected a pass that led to an interception. He intercepted a pass. He got a sack. He got a strip sack. And now a pick 6. What a game! CJ Stroud. Sideline. High and incomplete. I don't know if Harrison. Oh, he got a foot in bounds. How did he get a foot in bounds? Marvin Harrison Jr. again.
I mean, did he go back with his inside foot to touch? Watch this as he's trying to go down, and this left foot kind of slips out, and then he goes touch. Oh my goodness! You are kidding me. This guy is.
Plenty of time for Stroud. Directing receivers, flips it to the end zone. Caught, touchdown! Marvin Harrison Jr. making a huge impact, and the Buckeyes draw first blood, 31 yards. McIntosh is the back. It's McConkey in motion. Bennett avoids the rush and delivers, but it's intercepted. He threw it right to Steel Chambers. And the first bad decision by Bennett tonight, and the first takeaway of this game. Tailback Chip Trainum was a linebacker until a shift mid-season. Stroud harassed. He escapes again, and it's in. No, go to the end zone. Caught. Touchdown Harrison again.
All right, Buckeye fans. If that does not give you goosebumps, I don't know that you are a Buckeye fan. Those are some of my favorite moments. And how about JT or Tuimoloau? How about that performance that he had against Penn State last year? Never in the history has a defensive player had anything similar to what happened on that day. So great memory as a Buckeye. Of course, last season didn't end the way we wanted it to. But that's okay. That's the name of the game in football. We are always hopeful for this season. And right now, currently, if you're a fan of any team, you have full optimism. You feel like your team should be the national champions. Of course, I feel the same way. I'm a fanatic, as they say. So, anyways, my name is Matt. Nice to meet everybody. This is my first stream. I've had some technical difficulties getting it moving, but I believe we're good now. So I thought I would bring up the schedule this year because we're all anticipating what our schedules are going to be. This year we're playing Indiana as of Saturday. Ohio State will be traveling to Bloomington to play Indiana. If you don't know anything about our history, we've actually had a few tough games in Indiana, even though they've all been teams that we should blow off the field. Usually we do end up, pulling away from them towards the end of the game. But actually, I think it was 2018, the first year that Ryan Day actually coached. I went to Indiana and actually watched that game. Got to say hi to some of the players. I actually met Ryan Day. It was a pretty cool moment. Of course, that game was a lot closer than we wanted during the first half, but second half we did pull away. Of course, we have Youngstown State and Western Kentucky. Those are games we should dominate in. We have no business not dominating in those games. And of course, the big game, our first big game of the season, will be traveling to Notre Dame. And we're hoping there is no luck of the Irish on that day. Last year's game was a lot of fun. It was mostly a defensive game. I was rather impressed with what I saw at Notre Dame when they played Navy. They looked really good. So I'm hoping for a fight from start to finish, and I think we're going to get that this year. For some reason, we have our bye week right after the Notre Dame game. I don't know why. I prefer it to be later in the season, especially after we get through Maryland, Purdue. We have to play both Penn State and Wisconsin. Now, Maryland and Purdue are interesting because last year Maryland gave us quite a game, and Purdue, we have a lot of trouble when we go to Ross-Ade Stadium. We've lost quite a few games there against teams we had no business losing to. It's really hard to say why, but it's happened throughout our history. So we got to be careful with those games because we got two big games after that, Penn State and Wisconsin. Just like Notre Dame, Wisconsin has a former Buckeye coaching their team. So we do wish them great success just because they're former Buckeyes, just not against us. You could have great success, but not against us. That's what we hope. Of course, Penn State. I'm high on Penn State. I do like. I think this will be one of the best offensive lines they've had in a while. Their defense will be solid. They did lose a few really good players. I do believe that they've reloaded. We'll see how as the season goes how they look, but we should, if all goes well, have a battle of two undefeated teams. At least I believe Penn State, when we play them in the Horseshoe, will both be undefeated, and that's going to be very interesting. Penn State has not had a lot of success in Columbus historically since they've been in the Big Ten in the 90s. So we've pretty much owned the series when they come to Columbus, just a few setbacks. But that doesn't mean anything for this year, so we can't bank on that. Okay, then after that, Rutgers, Michigan State, Minnesota, those should all be double-digit victories. I do not see us having too much trouble with any of those teams. Minnesota is kind of one of those teams that will give you a game sometimes, but mostly they're a one-sided team. So I don't really, they mostly just run the ball. Their quarterback they had last year's gone. So then the big one in Ann Arbor to Michigan, we all know how important that game is, especially this season. So let's hope that that game we're both undefeated and we go in and we spoil the Wolverines season, pay them back for the last 2 years. As you know, this past since 2000. We've won 17 games and Michigan's won 4 games. So we have owned the series this season. Obviously in 2020, we did not play them. That's why there's only 21 games that we played. So this will be the 23rd game since 2000. We own that series 17-4. You may have had 2 in a row, Michigan, but we've owned you since 2000. So take that. Anyways, you know, bitter rivalries. But anyways, I want to get on moving on to some players. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. is one of the favorites to win a Heisman. That's very rare. I don't know that that can happen because he's a receiver. So we are hoping for a Blitnikoff Award. He got kind of denied on that last year. I felt like he was the best in the country. I hope they don't give him the shaft again. Last year, Marvin Harrison Jr. had 1,263 yards on 77 receptions, which are great numbers. 16.4 yards per catch is his average. His longest catch was a 58-yard touchdown. That might have been against Georgia. There was a long touchdown to him against Georgia. He had 14 touchdowns. So those numbers are great. But honestly, I mean, he gets all the limelight. But if you really look at Emeka Egbuka's stats, he's not too far removed from Marvin Harrison Jr. He's just 100 yards shy. 74 receptions, 1,151 yards. He has a 15.6 average. His long is 69 yards, so he actually has a longer touchdown pass, and that's for 10 touchdowns that he got. So Emeka Egbuka and Marvin Harrison Jr. are a great 1-2 punch that we have. The main problem that Ohio State had last year, and of course, with planning on having Jackson Smith and Jigba, I felt like there was a huge void. Julian Fleming was our third wide receiver, excuse me, but his performance was just not. It wasn't awful. It just wasn't stellar. 34 receptions, 533 yards, 15.7 yards per catch average. He did have a long of 79 yards, and he had 6 touchdowns. And our tight end Cade Stover had very similar numbers. 36 yards, 36 receptions, 408 yards, 11.3 per catch, and 5 touchdowns. So Cade Stover and Julian Fleming were kind of similar in numbers. Tight ends don't get as many yards per catch usually, so that it makes sense that Julian Fleming would be 130-ish yards more, 127 yards to be exact. But as far as wide receivers go, all of those players are with us this year. But what most Buckeye fans are extremely excited about is the fact that we have Carnell Tate. Marvin Harrison Jr. said that Carnell Tate is about at the level where he was last season. Marvin Harrison Jr. was last season. And he's a big wide receiver like Marvin Harrison Jr. And that could really help open up Emeka Egbuka and Marvin Harrison Jr. Having another guy to cover. There's no way you can double team anybody in that case. So I'm hoping he gets a lot of reps. But right now, most people are saying Julian Fleming is the guy at third. So we'll see how that works out throughout the season. Of course, Jaden Ballard is another guy that could push for time. And then our X Factor, Xavier Johnson. I call him the X Factor because he's kind of a slash player. He plays as running back. He can play as wide receiver. So he's a very reliable guy. He may not be the most skilled guy on the field, but he's one of the most reliable. And of course, our rushing team is mostly the same this year. It's not going to be a big difference. Of course, we have Mayan Williams and Trevion Henderson. Trevion Henderson is listed as number 1. Mayan Williams was actually our number 1 running back by yards, but it was like 3 players really got most of the yards. Dallin Hayden actually really flashed last season. He's probably like 4th or 5th in depth in our depth chart, so I don't know how much he'll see the field. But if you really look at like as far as reps go, he really flashed. So it's going to be interesting what they do, because we also had a running back that was injured all year last year, and the few times that he's played, he's looked really good. So I don't know, how do you get 5 players on the field? It's kind of tough. All I know is we're stacked defensively. The Buckeyes are looking pretty good. We do return a lot. Eichenberg, Chambers. We have Ransom back. We have Burke back. We have Cody Simon back, who probably isn't going to start, but he will play quite a bit still. We have Tua Malau back, which that Penn State game was absolutely amazing. I know I said that earlier, but uh, he figures to have a good season. Of course, we have Jack Sawyer back. There's Kenyatta Jackson, who we haven't really seen much of yet, so I'm looking forward to seeing Kenyatta Jackson play. There's been a lot of hype. There's also Hall Jr., who didn't get as much playing time as we'd have liked, but he did flash when he was on the field. But on top of that, we have Igbinosun, who is a transfer. Uh, uh, well, Kenyatta Jackson's also a transfer. And we also have Sonny Styles and Lorenzo Styles Jr. I don't know what they're playing him as. I need to look that up, but he might not really see the field this year. But Sonny Styles Jr. figures to get a lot of playing time this year. The thing that's amazing about Sonny Styles Jr. is the fact that he can play safety, he can play corner, he can play linebacker. He's like a freakish athlete that not only has size but has a lot of speed and burst to him. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they use him. But from what I've heard, he's with our new players filtering in, along with Simmons, who's another transfer. From what I've heard, they've been getting their hands on a lot of balls this offseason, and that's a huge and welcome change compared to last year. So, that's just like a quick overview of our team. Obviously, when we take the field on Saturday, the biggest question this offseason is quarterback. First off, kudos to Stroud. He had the game of his life against Georgia, and even though we lost by 1 point, it's absolutely we put an absolute scare, the first scare of the season, into Georgia. And CJ Stroud had 3,688 passing yards last year. So that's absolutely amazing. I don't figure that we're going to completely reach that level with Kyle McCord, and that's okay, because Kyle McCord, all he really needs to do is work within the offense. And so Kyle McCord will start the game against Indiana. I don't know if he'll be starting all season. There's a lot of arguments as to whether he'll start all season or not. But Kyle McCord is going to be an interesting player. He definitely has a good arm, and he's proven that. We'll see how accurate he is when it comes to game day. So, there's a lot of arguing happening amongst the fans, but none of us really know what he's got. So we got to give him a chance. If he makes some mistakes in the first few games, don't try and crucify him, because people were trying to crucify CJ Stroud, and look what he turned out to be. So let's give him a chance. Let's see what he can do. The other guy, though, that's fighting for time is Devin Brown. Again, we haven't really seen him play. He didn't play this spring. We don't know much about him. All I know is that he has a lot of it factor to him, and he's very mobile, and he does have a good arm too. So I'm really anxious to see them play. Hopefully, if the game's going well enough, we'll see Kyle McCord in the first half and Devin Brown in the second. That's what I'm hoping. Maybe we'll see even our third string quarterback. There's a lot of hype around him as well. But that's what we hope, at least. So as far as the quarterback goes, we don't know a lot yet. That's just, we got to be honest. We don't know much. All we know is that Ryan Day has a track record, and we shouldn't feel, concerned about it. Ryan Day has been very consistent with his quarterback, and he basically is a quarterback whisperer. All right, guys. Well, that's the overview of the team. Of course, at the end of each game, we sing our Carmen, Ohio, and anybody who's went to Ohio State like me has that memorized. So, let's hope. Let's hope we're all feeling pretty good about the team after Saturday. I don't think we'll know much until the Notre Dame game. It's hard to really take anything away from beating a team like Western Kentucky or a team like Youngstown State. But Indiana, they're not a great team, but they do have athletes. So, I mean, their athletes are still, they're a higher level than our next two games at least. So, they know us, they play us every year. So, a lot of crazy things can happen. So, we want to see the best out of our team. They're going to be amped up, though. I mean, it's the first game of the season. There's no way that they're not going to be amped up for playing a game. So, anyways, Buckeyes, what are your predictions for the Indiana game? You can leave comments and let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe. Again, my name is Matt, and I hope to do more of these videos in the future. My prediction for the Ohio State Indiana game is 52-17. I think our defense is going to play pretty well. I think we're going to make a few mistakes. Indiana will have a couple of drives. For the most part, we'll stop them most of the game. I think with all of our wide receivers and our running backs, I think that we're going to wear them down. I also think that our offensive line is going to surprise people with how good it is. They're a very confident group. They've made comments as to that effect this offseason. And of course, Fry insists that we're too deep at our offensive line as well. So if the coaches are saying that, I think that there's going to be a welcome surprise. But obviously, first game of the season, you expect to see some mistakes. But anyways, I appreciate everybody who watches this video. Like, share, subscribe. It's great to interact with Buckeye fans, so feel free to leave comments. Let's see how we do this weekend. I'll probably be doing a show related to the results on Sunday, hopefully, Sunday or Monday. Thanks for tuning in, and you have yourself a great day. Thank you for tuning in.